What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, with my other host right over there.
What's up? It's a disappointed D. We are digging into the NFC Championship game. This is our immediate reaction. We had to hop on. But before we get into that, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to this pod. Go ahead and hop over to any audio platform because this is an audio podcast as well. So feel free to go over there, rate us 5 stars.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's a heartbreaking loss, but thank you guys for rocking with us all season. It was an amazing year. This is our first year doing the podcast. We love the comment section and all the subscribers that come and watch every week. We're not taking a break. So we're going to be rolling all the way through to next season. So make sure you subscribe. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff, different stuff coming up in the offseason. But immediate reactions after this blowout loss against the Eagles for the 49ers.
Man, this was a tough one. This was a very, very tough one. It's one thing to go out there and just get your ass whooped. Like, if it was a regular, like, ass whooping of 31-7, I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, yo, hey, chop it up to the Eagles. They did what they did. Like, they had to do. Brock Purdy went out there and looked like shit. It is what it is. But really, that wasn't it. Brock Purdy gets hurt on the, like, what was it? The second play of the offense. So it was, pretty crazy. And then after that, so literally every single scoring possession from the Eagles had something attached to it that was a little like, bullshit. It was kind of bullshit. So the first one was the Devontae Smith non-catch that leads to a touchdown. The second one, riddled with penalties from the 49ers defense. The third one was coming off of the Josh Johnson fumble where he just can't hold on to the ball. So it's one thing, like, you know what I mean, when you just get beat, but just unfortunate event after unfortunate event happened, and it is what it is. It's a really crappy way to end this, like, season, and it was a very special season. But again, thank you to the team. Thank you to the fans. Thank you to everyone who listens and watches and, comments and likes. Really appreciate it. But yeah, it's a tough way to end the season.
Yeah, it was a tough game to watch. And I mean, I want to say we played better than Giants and we didn't have a quarterback. Throughout this whole game, it was not a blowout. It was a close game throughout, and we couldn't get anything on offense going because of the Brock Purdy injury and then the Josh Johnson injury. But man, McCaffrey, I just want to say I was so wrong about the trade in the beginning because this guy is amazing still, and he really carried us in order to just, like, put us in the game and put us in position to maybe get close. And the defense was this was an amazing performance by our defense. Yeah, in the second half, they're gassed, they're frustrated, they're getting penalties, but it's only because we had no offense. The first half, I feel like D'Amico was amazing. So let's go in and start there. The coaching staff, Kyle Shanahan, let's talk about his first half because this is really where everything unraveled for them. To start the game, that fourth down, long throw to Devontae Smith. He catches it. Everyone thinks it's an amazing catch. They quickly run to the line, and later we see that he didn't catch it. He fumbled it, but there was no challenge by the coach. So what did you think happened there? Why didn't Kyle throw it? And, like, how much are we blaming the rest of the game on this decision by Kyle?
I think you can blame, not to be that guy, but you could, if you really wanted to be like that dork, you could blame the entire game on that single play. So as soon as Devontae Smith gets up, he is like, let's go, hey, like, run to the line, let's go. He's making that gesture of, like, we need to hurry up. I think that's a huge red flag. And if Kyle Shanahan didn't notice, then it's up to someone else in the booth to be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, let's at least throw that flag. And it did take Fox forever to broadcast that specific angle of that play. But realistically, like, someone should have, like a flag should have been raised in their mind when Devontae Smith gets up immediately, is like, hurry up, let's go. And then off of that, okay, so they score off that touchdown. Eagles are now up. Brock Purdy has to throw it. And even though, like, you could say, like, they were going to throw it regardless. It's so early in the game. Eventually, Brock Purdy was going to have to drop back and gets injured. So if you were that dork, you could say like the rest of the game was on it, but it's a totally different game if they do have that drop on fourth down. The 49ers take it over at that
great
spot
field position
with great field position with 0-0. They're able to run it down. I think it's a completely different game, but it is what it is. They didn't call it. Eagles took advantage of it. They scored, and Brock Purdy got hurt, and we know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. The second half, I'm not taking anything away from Kyle. Like, what did fans expect him to do with no quarterback on the roster? Everyone's complaining about this, complaining about that. At the end of the day, he's not magic. He can't magically make big plays happen after big play when you know the defense is gonna cover the run completely. You're not gonna throw downfield, and if you do, it's gonna be quick screen, and they're just gonna sit back and let you run into them. So. I mean, second half is tough
The one thing I will like, you didn't notice Josh Johnson couldn't throw in practice. You didn't notice that like this guy is just fucking horrible. So like that's the one thing like everything goes through you, Kyle. Like you have to know that this guy is bad, and this guy couldn't even hold on to the ball. Like, what are we doing?
We're going to get into Josh Johnson. Don't worry. But I wanted to keep with the coaching staff here. D'Amico Ryans. I think he's going to be an amazing head coach. It's looking like I've been calling it. Go back and check our videos. D'Amico Ryans, the Houston Texans head coach. He played there. He has connections, and it's looking more and more every day like he's going to take that job. What did you think he did well in this game? And do you blame any of that second half on him? Is this completely on the offense? What did you see?
No, none of that. Like, again, you're fighting an uphill battle. Like look how long the defense was on the field, and they actually still kept it fairly contained. Jalen Hurts did not look good in this game, neither running nor passing. It just felt like if the 49ers could get scores, this defense and keep this defense off the field, they would have been able to overtake it. If they had a like respectable quarterback in there, I think the 49ers would have won this game. But again, it's woulda, coulda, shoulda. If this would have happened, like if doesn't ever happen, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. But this defense played their asses off. They looked extremely good. They kept Jalen Hurts really contained. It just sucks, dude.
It's tough. I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles. I think they're a great team. They're a loaded roster as well, full of Pro Bowl players. I just think the 49ers would have been better if they had a functioning offense today. I think that they should have won this game, but I'm not taking away from the Eagles. They really came to play. Their offensive line is nasty. There was touchdowns where Miles Sanders went untouched completely, and their defensive line is nice. So, props to them. We'll see. I think Bengals this year gonna be my pick. I'm putting on wax, but we're currently recording before that Chiefs Bengals game happens, so let's see how stupid I look tonight. The officiating, a lot of people talking about the officiating for this one, penalty after penalty. What did you see?
I mean, it was penalty after penalty, and you like again later down the line, you do like I admit it, the 49ers were frustrated. But some of these were really stupid calls. The Jordan Mason roughing the punter, he was blocked into the punter. There was a few of them. It just felt like real ticky-tack plays. The one with Jimmy Ward against A.J. Brown, that was initiated by A.J. Brown, and then he gets turned around. So it's like, what is Jimmy Ward going to do? Just let him run him over? So, yeah, it's pretty frustrating when, again, you don't lose the game. It feels like you kind of got screwed over. So I have a problem with the officiating today. Like
there was also like some plays where, constantly they're bringing in Mike Pereira to clarify, like, is this a flag? What's going on here? And there was one point where they were like, oh yeah, that's going to be holding. And it was like hands to the face by the 49ers. And it's like, well, those should cancel each other out because it was clearly holding on that play. They literally said it.
Yeah.
And so there's question. And, there was the weird situation with that punt from the Eagles where it hit the wire, and because they didn't have it on video, they gave the Niners the ball with great field position. So I'll give them that. They got fucked over on that play. Like that should have been a re-kick, but There's Guy Haberman just messaged me on Instagram.
What do you say?
I told him earlier, I can't wait to see you guys talk about Brock Purdy throwing for 300 today and being the Eagles. And he just sent me, um, yeah, it's gonna be sorry, Guy.
Yeah, shout out Haberman Middlecoff podcast.
Check out
Awesome.
Hampod. But yeah, they got fucked over on that play. I'll give it to them. Maybe there was some calls that went our way too, but the majority of the calls against the 49ers and a lot of tic-tacky shit, a lot of bad calls. I mean, even they kicked Nick Bosa on the sideline.
It really felt like a lot of those calls in any championship game, you just let them go. You let it be. You let the players play. You let them decide it. But this like all-star officiating crew was like, no, I'm going to make my presence felt. I want people to know that I'm here. And no, that's not what people came to see. They did not come to see flags thrown on every single play on an Eagles possession. They came to see these two teams battle it out. Let them do that.
And when you say that, like, oh, a fishing crew wants to make themselves felt and known and control the game, to me, in my mind, that's like, we're going to make sure that these teams don't fucking fight each other. We're going to control the game and make sure everyone keeps their cool. That's not what they did this game. There was multiple times where they're getting in scraps. On the opening kickoff, they're throwing down. And so they didn't do a good job at all of containing the aggression and making sure that everyone remains civil. We're not going to fight today. We're not going to throw hands. But so by the end of that game, it was a dogfight because everyone's frustrated.
And even then, on the Trent Williams throwdown,
they're letting it go and go and go.
They have Deebo Samuel and the other guy holding each other's face masks. No one blows a whistle or anything. No one tries to break them up. And Trent Williams gets in there and throws the guys down. So it's like, yeah, of course, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be hypocritical and say it was only the Eagles. There was times 49ers, they're hitting late. They're coming in and
they're got that late hit on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, they're throwing their bodies on top of running backs, but at the same time, McCaffrey's getting stood up and leveled by a third guy. So it's both sides taking out aggression on each other to where an officiating crew that's good needs to shut that shit down early and really control that pace of it.
And instead, it felt like they escalated it.
Yeah, they almost egged them on.
It was like, oh yeah, no, fuck that. Like, let this go, but we're gonna go do this. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's gonna be talked about for a while, and I think there's gonna be some breakdowns of all the calls missed or all the bullshit calls probably coming up by some other YouTubers. Brock Purdy early in this game, it was so hype. I was so looking forward to Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts. I think this was going to be an amazing matchup. He gets hurt early, turns out to be nerve damage where you can't grip the ball, and it's something where they said Pat McAfee said Mike White got it earlier in the season. You can literally lose it and get it back that same day. So it's just a matter of your nerves, you know. He gets hurt. What did you think about the reaction kind of on Twitter? I'm seeing a lot of people saying how Brock's a pussy. Brock didn't want to be out there. He didn't come to play. All this and that.
I mean, what is he going to do? If anything, it's kind of on the training staff. Like, hey, get this guy ready. Do whatever you got to do. Throw some heat on it. Throw some icy hot. Like, massage. Bro, why were they not sitting there massaging his, like, elbow? Do anything that you can to get this guy ready, but ultimately, what he's going to do if he can't hold on to the ball, if he can't throw it, it is what it is. Like, he's doing a disservice to go out there and do what Josh Johnson did. Josh Johnson went out there and stunk it up. So, okay, cool. Like, what? You want Garoppolo to get out there? Garoppolo, guess what? He's sitting out there fucking laughing. You want Trey Lance out there? Trey Lance he's just coming off of his second surgery. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame those two fucks. Like, what are we talking about here? If anything, Brock Purdy is a gamer just to go out there in the condition that he did. And he threw, like 2 passes with it? And we seen he just didn't have the control. He didn't have the accuracy. He doesn't even have the arm strength to get it anywhere near past the line of scrimmage. So there's not much you can do. You can't fault the kid. He went out there and he balled his ass off just to get us to this point. But I mean, Josh Johnson couldn't get the dub.
I'd give Brock Purdy more credit than criticism for what he did today. It takes a real leader to get injured and say like, "Hey, I can't do it. I'm literally gonna hurt my team if I go out there." He could have went out there and said, "Fuck it, it's the NFC Championship game. Let me just risk it and like throw a couple weak balls and they get picked and then everyone's shitting on him." So he's a real one to say like, tell Kyle straight to his face, "I can't throw the ball. I can't grip it." But then later, when Josh Johnson gets hurt, for him to, without hesitation, come out here and say, "Listen, I'm not going to let my team be embarrassed today by having a running back play quarterback for a whole half, by having a fullback play quarterback for a whole half." Like everyone calling for the Wildcat, that would have been embarrassing to see for a full half.
Yeah.
So I give full props to him for going out there injured and just running the offense.
I mean, when he rolled out there after Josh Johnson's injury, someone that I was watching it with was like, "That's a man." And it's like, that's hella true. It was Jake, by the way. Jake was like, "That's a man."
Our brother.
Yeah. But it's true. Like, dude, you could tell he was hurt. He like, if he would give anything to go out there and be 100%, but he just wasn't. And so what did he do? He told Kyle, "I cannot do this. Give it to Josh." Josh goes out there, gets concussed, and now Christian McCaffrey's going to go out there and play QB. He couldn't do it. He couldn't allow it. So he goes out there, he hands the ball off. He makes a couple attempts, but it just is what it is. It's a tough loss.
Yeah, what
dude.
can you do?
And you
ran out of
can't
quarterbacks.
you can't put the blame on Brock for this. It just, injuries happen, stuff happens in life. You just got to chalk it up to him and let him know, like, you did well. You put it, like, Brock Purdy put them in this position.
You can't take anything away from Brock Purdy's season, what he's looked like, what he's done. He didn't play bad today. He didn't go out there and throw a bunch of interceptions and look like a rookie. We don't know what he would have looked like, but we know what he did look like before this week. He looked amazing. And for people to be like, "Oh, well, now it's Trey Lance's team," or blah, 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 Brock's a backup, he can't do it. I don't think this game changed any way that Kyle feels about Brock. If anything, it solidified him more as a leader in my eyes, because he was never shook. They're laughing in the huddle. They're really just like, "Hey, we're getting fucked today on like everything that could go wrong, but we're here together, guys. Like, it's gonna be okay."
Yeah. And I mean, there's no way Brock is not the starting quarterback moving forward. I think that this is his team. And if anything, Trey Lance is going to have a very, very, very strong showing in training camp in order to win a battle. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Brock Purdy, again, he does everything a little bit better than Trey Lance as far as he makes the throws that you need to make. He leads this team a little bit better. The team rallies around him, and Kyle Shanahan likes him enough to open up the playbook. So he knows what he has in Brock Purdy. He does not know what he has in Trey Lance.
Well, let's say, does this open any window for Trey Lance? Because Brock couldn't get them past the NFC Championship game. I know he got hurt. We did a poll on Twitter. Who's 49ers QB1 next season? 29% of you said Purdy. 36% said Trey Lance. 21% said other, so possibly a Brady sighting. And 14% said QB battle in camp. So I think the numbers are pretty mixed here compared to what I saw people tweeting. A lot of love for Trey Lance today. A lot of people saying he's the future. What do you feel about that? We haven't really seen him do what Brock Purdy can do. And then we'll talk about Brady.
Oh, you mean you haven't seen Trey Lance take the 49ers to the NFC Championship game? You haven't seen Trey Lance
running the offense
go undefeated. You haven't seen Trey Lance get nominated for Rookie of the Year. That's crazy, dude. I didn't see it either. So with that as being said, this is Brock Purdy's team. If they have a quarterback battle in training camp, is Trey Lance going to be ready to go by then? Who knows? Like, again, a second surgery. I just think the way Brock Purdy played, he has solidified himself as the starting QB next year. Again, it's going to take one hell of a training camp from Trey Lance in order to really, knock him off that perch. I think that he just got too big of a head start. You know what I mean? Especially with Kyle Shanahan, with the rest of these star players on offense, they know what they have in Brock and they like it. You know what I mean? They all have been more productive with Brock Purdy than even with Jimmy Garoppolo. And that they loved Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that it's going to be real tough, if anything.
And for Purdy to be so young, he's going to get a full offseason with the ones. His injury isn't serious, so he's going to be fine. He's going to get a full offseason, full training camp. Trey Lance is still going to be trying to work his way back. So realistically, Brock Purdy would have to look terrible in camp, and Trey Lance would have to bounce back like very quickly for this situation to flip. And then you got to think that the 49ers are bringing in a veteran quarterback to be a backup or a 3 to Trey Lance if he earns the backup job. So there is going to be, I don't know if there's going to be a battle, but there's going to be a situation where Brock Purdy is set up perfectly to take over week 1 as starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean the only way it's going to like be Trey Lance is if he does show out and he like we went to training camp this past year and we saw he just didn't make the throws that he needed to make, the consistent dinks and dunks. And that's something that he's going to have to do, especially in this Shanahan offense. Yeah, we see he hits the deep balls, but that's not all you can do in this offense. Like you need to be able to get first downs. You need to be able to move the chains. So maybe he does make a vast improvement. Maybe he is more accurate coming off of this offseason with another year of Kyle Shanahan under his belt. And maybe Kyle Shanahan actually feels more comfortable after this Brock Purdy experience. Like, hey, you know what? I opened up the playbook for Brock, and guess what? It was very, very successful. And one, Trey Lance is much more athletic. He has a better arm. Maybe I can take what I've done with Brock and apply that to Trey Lance. But we just didn't see that when Trey Lance was on the field. It really felt like Kyle was more like hamstrung and felt a lot tighter with his offensive play calling than he did with even Jimmy Garoppolo or obviously with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, it really felt like the full Shanahan offense was on display. So maybe he learns from that and takes it over, or maybe he's like, you know what? I only feel comfortable with Brock Purdy. I'm going to roll with him.
Yeah, and these are a lot of what ifs and maybes and possiblies that you're throwing out here. Like, it's such an unknown with Trey Lance because he's been injured and because he hasn't played in years. He hasn't played consistently in years. So already coming in from the draft, he was a question mark. He was a guy that we were going to have to build from the ground up. We saw him in training camp make amazing throws, like spectacular throws where I was like, this kid got something here. But we also saw him throw like 3 picks and not be able to check it down. And he was getting, I think, a little bit better at that. But this injury really derails him. You can't really you can't progress when you're sitting on the sideline and in street clothes and not practicing. So what he's going to have to do next year is come in and be better than Brock Purdy from the get-go when he's really hasn't practiced for a year.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that happening. Maybe if he sits behind Brock and Brock gets an injury or something later in the season, he comes in and he's prepared and he's ready to go and Kyle trusts him a little bit more. But other than that, this has to be Brock Purdy's team. And I see a lot of people thinking we need a veteran quarterback, maybe Tom Brady. To me, I don't know. That's a joke. Tom Brady with this roster. We just saw Brock Purdy got hurt because Mike McGlinchey can't block. So can a 40-whatever-year-old quarterback who's not mobile at all really carry this offense?
No. And that's one thing. Mike McGlinchey should not be back on this team next year. If I have to see Mike McGlinchey back, like, it's ridiculous. Like, he just gets constantly beat every single time, especially against good pass rushers. They will target him. They will move over to his side. So he's a liability at this point, dude.
Yeah, I'd rather see us draft like 3 tackles this offseason and like see which one hits. We've seen that we can hit on offensive linemen. Buford, amazing. Aaron Bakes looks solid. So even Jake Brendel, he was pretty good this year. So everyone else is stepping up, but there's something that consistently lets us down, And I know he had a better year this season, but he has a ceiling and he's hit that ceiling. McGlinchey is the guy that kind of feels like the odd man out on this line.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady doesn't fit this system, I think. Like, Brock Purdy is so good for Kyle Shanahan because he can extend the plays and he's accurate. He can stand in the pocket as well. Brady, if you watch him now, he very, very quick to get down. He feels
Yeah.
that pressure coming, he's down.
Because like he doesn't want to get hit. Like that's the one thing about him. He is gun shy now. And I mean, it makes sense. Maybe it was just because he was on a Bucks team that he knew they did not have a Super Bowl chance. And even though they were a playoff team, he was like, "Hey, we're super flawed. I'm not risking my life for this. I'm not risking my health and my season next year for this team right here." Maybe if he gets on this 49ers team with a bunch of tough guys, he has to put like, you know what I mean? He has to step up. But honestly, I wouldn't mortgage our future on Tom Brady. Like, why, when we have Brock Purdy and even Trey Lance, I think we do not trade Trey Lance. I think we keep him as a backup. I think that's a super viable option. Unless you get a like Godfather proposal, you do not let him go because you see the backup market is pretty ridiculous. And this year, especially when more quarterbacks have played in this NFL season than any other season before, we see that it makes sense to invest in your backup quarterback. So I think Trey Lance is going to be around and maybe he has an opportunity with injury. Hopefully not. But I think that it does not make sense to have Tom Brady on board when you have two guys on your rookie deal and you can build out the rest of your roster.
Exactly. And Tom Brady didn't even look amazing last year. If it was like Super Bowl winning Tom Brady who played for the Bucks that one season, like, yeah, I'd say maybe let's roll the dice, but he hasn't looked as good. And to just be like, well, he's going to be a year older and we want him to come in the system where you have to be a little bit mobile and do all these things that Kyle wants you to do. I don't know. I just don't trust it. And we can save what's it going to cost? 15, 20 million, 25 million. I don't know what he would get on the open market, but we can put that money to better use and fill out make sure our defense is filled out, maybe bring back some of these edge rushers, maybe possibly bring back Azeez Al-Shaair or a Jimmy Ward because he looked really good in the playoffs in the nickel.
Yeah.
And we have just a cheap quarterback room with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. I'm cool with Trey Lance being the backup because at the end of the day, he could come in, he can run read option, he could throw it deep, and that could potentially win you a playoff game. I think it could, because that could have maybe won this game.
Yeah, but again, him and Jimmy Garoppolo, like, can you really count on them? They're both sitting there on the sidelines because they're both injured. So it's just one of those things like, you just never know in the NFL. But it does make sense to invest in your backup quarterback.
From now on, every team needs to carry 3 active quarterbacks because carrying the 2 active quarterbacks into a game, we just saw it's a long season. You get to this point of the season, everyone's getting hurt. So many quarterbacks played this season. We have to carry 3 active quarterbacks, and I'm fully expecting us to bring in a veteran, whether that's like an Andy Dalton, a Nick Foles, like someone.
Josh Dobbs looked good.
Josh Dobbs looked good. So we need a veteran in the room who could come in and just stabilize the offense for a half. Someone who knows how to run an offense for a half. Because Josh Johnson, journeyman guy, full respect to him for being, bouncing around in his career and staying with it, but he's just not a viable backup quarterback for this team.
No, not at all.
And so let's talk about Josh Johnson. He's going to get a lot of hate. He's going to get a lot of hate from the 49ers fan base and maybe around the league. I personally think it's a tough situation to come in. You're the backup, but you're a journeyman guy. Don't expect to play. And he really hasn't done much on the fields in the league. He's really just been a clipboard guy or a practice squad guy, comes in, plays for a bad team, puts up some yards, and then he's done. I want to talk about Josh Johnson a little bit, but I mostly want to focus on what the 49ers could have done to prevent Josh Johnson from being in this situation. So, what did you see from his play on the field first, really quickly?
He went on the field and shit himself. What are you talking about, dude? Like, what could they have done? I don't know. Like, he lined up in shotgun and literally dropped the fucking ball. Like, that's one. Like, how can you coach around that? You know what I mean? What else are you gonna do? It's a you're trying to run a true 2-minute drill, and this guy can't even hold on to the ball in your own territory.
All right,
So,
let's move on to.
So that's
what we
thing.
saw. That's what we saw from Josh Johnson. But I wanted to cover when I say prevent him from. I mean, I know you said he should have never been there. Who we could have got a better backup at the point in the season where Jimmy gets hurt and Brock Purdy is the backup and comes in. We couldn't trade for anyone. Free agency looked rough. Like, realistically, who could have been the quarterback in that position as a free agent we could have picked up to replace Josh Johnson?
I know they said that they didn't place a waiver claim for Baker Mayfield. Do you think that's bullshit? Because it was the same week. Like,
I mean, they had to known that the Rams did it, and so they just like, yeah, we're not going to do it because we know we're going to lose him.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. Like, if they had Baker and like not even if they just had Baker waiting in the wings, like you rolled with Brock Purdy, you had Baker on the sidelines, like you would have felt much better about that because that guy actually had starter experience. Ben DiNucci, we had talked about it. Ben DiNucci was a free agent. He has starter experience. And so it's just about like guys who have been in there before that can just run a basic offense, can hold on to the ball and not fumble it in their own territory. It's like one thing when you're a backup quarterback, you just can't get your team killed. And that's what Josh Johnson went in there and did. He killed the drives. He killed our team on this day.
Yeah, as a backup quarterback, you just don't want to shoot your team in the foot. And this guy unloaded a clip into our forehead with that fumble. And
Yeah.
some of the free agent quarterbacks are like AJ McCarron, Cam Newton, Josh Rosen, Blake Bortles possibly was available.
And that's hold on. So let's stop there. One guy that like really kind of, I guess, flags like or catches my interest is Cam Newton. Like, if you were 100% behind Trey Lance, wouldn't you want a Cam Newton type to be your backup quarterback, to sit there and mentor Trey Lance and be like, hey, you know what? I've been a highly drafted guy. I know what it takes. I'm a mobile quarterback. I know that I had accuracy issues and I can help you out in the run game too. Here's what I would do. And also, like, he's played in the league before. He has a lot of experience. Yeah. His last couple of years in New England, it really didn't look like he could run the ball or throw the ball, but he was running it pretty well. So I would have liked to see Cam Newton rather than Josh Johnson out there.
I would rather see like AJ McCarron or Blake Bortles than Cam Newton. I think he doesn't really fit in the locker room with Kyle. He's a very eccentric, loud guy, and he does come off. He's a great teammate. I've heard from like other people, but he's just been in some weird situations, some weird spots, and he does like a lot of the podcast stuff. Brittany Renner talking with her, and yeah, he just had like some weird stuff at the end of his career after the Patriots, to where it's like, is this guy in it? Is he kind of delusional because he was saying how he's still a top quarterback, and the guy really can't throw. When you watch him in New England, I don't know if he's injured or his shoulder or what, but he cannot hit a 10-yard route. Like, the guy can't throw.
Neither can Josh Johnson.
Well, and I'm saying, do you want Kyle to coach Cam Newton when Kyle is the guy that says, all I want you to do is hit the easy layups, and put in Cam Newton, who can't hit any of the easy layups?
But at least he has one weapon, which is he can still run. Josh Johnson didn't have either. He couldn't hit anything. Like, literally, the passes that he was hitting, it was it was Christian McCaffrey making something out of nothing. So
yeah, I mean, hindsight, I would have loved to have Cam Newton in this game, but throughout the season, would I love to see like, oh, is Cam Newton going to replace Brock Purdy this week? Like, Cam Newton showing up in his purple suit with the hat. Like, I don't know.
But that's the thing. Brock Purdy played well enough to where it wasn't a factor. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been a factor moving forward because he played awesome.
I think in the NFL, you don't want your backup quarterback to be a bigger story than your starting quarterback, which would, yeah, Brock Purdy would have been a huge story, but you just want your guy to be, base level, not make waves. And that's been a challenge for Cam Newton as a backup quarterback. He can't do that. He has to be in the spotlight. And I think it would have been weird. It would have been a weird locker room.
See, that's the thing. Like, when push comes to shove, Josh Johnson can't play.
Well,
Like, you know what I mean?
I think Cam Newton can't play.
At least he'd have the running dynamic. Like, that's one thing. Like, we would have been way better off at that, again, fourth string quarterback with a Cam Newton or even a Ben DiNucci than with Josh Johnson.
I don't know. Go and let us know in the comments. Would you guys have wanted Cam Newton? This is such a weird situation. We're so hurt on this loss. We're talking about Cam fucking Newton being quarterback for the 49ers. Let us know in the comments. Would you have wanted Cam Newton as the backup to Brock Purdy and him playing this game? Comment below. But just to wrap up, I just wanted to touch on the Wildcat. Everyone on Twitter is a Wildcat expert saying that they wanted the 49ers to run the Wildcat because Brock Purdy couldn't throw and Josh Johnson was out. What did you think about them not going to the Wildcat?
I think it makes sense to go to someone who at least has the threat of throwing the ball a little sooner. Yeah, you tried it out with Purdy a few drives. It doesn't work. It's obviously going to be a run every single time. So why not switch it up? Why not move to someone else who actually has a functioning arm? So that's my only criticism, I guess, is not moving to someone else sooner. Again, Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings was a really good quarterback in high school. Why not throw him back there? Any of these guys, and again, all these guys are just premium athletes. Why not throw someone else back there, even if it's just basic terminology of you're going to run a 3, you're going to run a 9, you're going to run a 1, and just make them all do that. You know what I mean? You don't have to do super crazy play calling for someone in a emergency backup quarterback spot, but throw someone back there that at least has the threat to throw the ball. You know what I mean? That's my only criticism.
I don't know. My thing is, I don't really have a problem with what they did. I don't think the 49ers run Wildcat ever.
No.
Realistically, when did they ever practice it? Probably never. And say you do run a Wildcat offense, how many plays can they run out of that Wildcat in a game situation where they're drawing up plays in the dirt? Maybe 3, and then you flip them the other way, so 6, and then you get repetitive with it. The defense knows what's coming. So I just don't see why they would have went to the Wildcat unless McCaffrey's going to just play quarterback in the regular system instead of a Wildcat, which would have been insane to see a running back run the offense. But I don't know. I don't have a problem with them not doing it. I think realistically, it sounds cool. It sounds like a good idea when you don't have a quarterback, run the Wildcat. But realistically, they haven't practiced it and they don't have the play calls. And this is a very detail-oriented team where they're setting up run schemes. Their run blocking is so dynamic. They need to know where they're going and what their position battles are. They need to know where their matchups are. So just to go out there and say, look, we're going to run the ball this way, there could have been a lot of plays where you get a free runner to the ball carrier because they don't know what they're supposed to be blocking.
But at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. Yeah, it is an intricate offense, but it doesn't need to be that complicated when you have all of these playmakers. If you just tell them, hey, we need to make some plays here. Can someone hop in here and at least throw the ball one time? I'm sure someone would figure it out. You know what I mean? Especially these high-level guys like Debo, Brandon Ayuk, McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, Kyle Juszczyk. Someone could get in there and at least figure it out.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have Brock there running the offense and trying to get what Kyle was basically doing, like trying to get one of these runs to break and get Debo around the edge and see what Debo he was getting the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Like even Kittle got one around, but it's
But
just
they
it's
knew
tough.
what they were doing. It's yeah, it's cool in theory, but realistically, they knew what you were gonna do.
I think either
So
way
they
they were
just
fucked.
blitzed.
Either
Yeah.
way.
So
I mean,
it
we could
just
argue about the Wildcat and like what they should have done, but I think either way it was to what end, you know. They
yeah,
they weren't
it
going to
was
come
gonna
back
be
and
either way, it was an L.
yeah.
Are you
But
impressed? Hold on. So like Eagles, are you impressed with this? What do you think of their performance?
I'm I'm not impressed with their performance, but I am impressed with their team. They have a lot of talent. That offensive line is nasty. They're real. That defensive line, it's real. They have playmakers on the outside. So I do feel like any given Sunday they can beat any team in this league. So, I'll say I'm impressed. Not with this game, but I feel like they do deserve to be in the Super Bowl in a bad NFC this year. And, you know, it just happened. Like it's not their fault that our quarterbacks got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're gonna get ran in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think that they are a legitimate contender, I guess, like, or maybe they are a legitimate contender. And this like does put like a showering note on it. But also they played the Giants like in three of their last, I don't know, like six games. And so it's just one of those things like all of the Eagles fans wanted to point out the strength of schedule for the 49ers. The Eagles also, it was 1-2 49ers Eagles as far as strength of or the weakness of schedules. You know what I mean? So it's not like they've played anybody either. And with this, it's not like Jalen Hurts balled out against the number one defense in the NFL. They made the plays they needed to make against a team that had their fourth string quarterback in. So
Yeah, that's what
it
I'm
is
saying.
what
I'm
it
not
is.
I'm not gonna take anything away from them. They did what they needed to do. The game was a lot closer than what the score entailed at the end, which I mean, who knows what would happen if we had Brock Purdy or even like Jimmy or whatever. Um, but I do think these AFC teams that are going to play today are on just another level. They're
Yeah.
crazy talented. I really think the Bengals could pull it out. But if the Chiefs do, I wouldn't be surprised either. So I think whoever in the AFC can just be, but they're just better talented than the Eagles. But that's not to say that the Eagles can't win. I do think that they can win a Super Bowl. So we'll see, man. I fully respect Jalen Hurts. I loved him in college. I said he was a great leader. I thought he could be a franchise quarterback. So, I'm happy for him. I think he deserves it.
I'm bitter. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so bitter right now, dude. But
It's gonna be a long off season,
realistically,
guys.
it was a special season. This was a special team, and I think that moving forward, we have a special quarterback in Brock Purdy, and I'm really excited for next season. Um, actually, next season, we are going to be season ticket holders, so we will be at multiple games next season. So feel free to look out for us there. We will be there, whining and dining, schmoozing with the fans. We will be there.
Yeah, expect more tailgate videos. Look for us. We'll tweet it out. Follow us at the Deep Dig Pod so you can stay updated on when we're gonna be out there. Maybe we'll like go watch some preseason games at a bar or something in the city. We'll let you guys know. We'll keep you updated on our moves. But we want to talk to you guys, even if you don't want to be a part of a video. We want to chat, talk about the Niners. And yeah, we appreciate you guys watching. We're gonna drop a lot of stuff all week. We're gonna drop a lot of stuff this offseason. So subscribe, like, and comment.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Later.